Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I think it's kind of a Donald Bernard Day down here at Fort Phoenix. Gathering at my right is the family of Donald Bernard, and at my left is some of the people who are just going to have a couple of remarks. My name is John Moore, and I'm kind of honored to be here because Donald Bernard was a lot of things. He was a family man. He was a protector of our property. He was a friend. But we're here today, I think, to recognize a lot of parts of Donald, but I think that, especially to his children, to the young people here, he was the epitome of someone who contributes back to the community to which he had an awful lot of feeling for. And if we could all model ourselves after Donald in giving back more than we receive, it certainly would be a wonderful country. So that's the extent of my speech, and I'm here with a sense of joy and a sense of sadness because there's not too many Donald Bernards left in this world. We're going to keep this very brief, but I'd like to first acknowledge both the chiefs of the town, Chief Crowley and Chief Silver, if they just raised their hand. We thank them for their presence and for coming and honoring Donald on this day. There's a lot of people here that should be honored, but I did think that I should take a moment to recognize them. I'd like to introduce our state representative, Bill Strauss, at this time, if I may.
Let me just say, it's very much a pleasure for me to be here today, because in many ways it reminds me of an event that was held in the town of Fairhaven about a month and a half ago, which was the rededication of the town hall. And in that event, many people got to speak about what the memory of Henry Huddleston Rogers meant to the town. And in many ways, it was an event for the town. That's what today is also. Henry Huddleston Rogers gave in ways that only he could give to the town of Fairhaven. And the same is true for any of us who knew Donald Bernard. He wasn't just the fire chief, and we all know that. He gave to the town in every way he could over the years. The memory of things that happened here, in bettering the community, in almost any way he could. And that's very special, and that's what I'd ask you to keep in mind today. And it's also something, perhaps since I'm from Mattapoisett, I've observed about the town of Fairhaven, how it's been blessed over the years with so many people who think about the things they can do for their town. And that's why there are so many people here today to honor the memory of Donald Bernard. And thank you for inviting me here.
Donald would be very upset if we made this a somber occasion. As a matter of fact, I sort of think that he's upstairs thinking when he should start the rain coming down, because he would not probably like us to be doing this. He happened to like to do things and not to receive recognition. That's, I think, was one of his great attributes. And so in keeping with that, that's why I didn't say too much about the microphone, because it's sort of like talking to yourself. And since I'm one of the few politicians up here, I thought that they would be used to that. But anyway, we're also honored to have the three members of the Board of Selectmen, newly elected John Rodericks, Patrick Mullen, and speaking for the Board of Selectmen is the Chairman, John Haaland.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored as well to be here today, and I'm very honored to speak on behalf of our board. I believe one of the things that Don Bernard did, along with the individuals that were involved in the recreations and everything down here at Fort Phoenix, was sensitize people to the historical significance of the fort as well as the town of Fairhaven. I think that's very important. One thing I don't think people do enough of is remember the individuals, such as in Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and the battles down here at the fort, in regards to what they did for our country, what they did for the community. And that's what the recreations did. They helped people remember, made them aware. And what I think we ought to do is try and carry on those traditions that Don Bernard was a part of and the historical significance that they represented. I think on behalf of the board, and I spoke with Chief Silver earlier, we can make a commitment as a town to make sure that the vandalism that occurs down here at the fort, which isn't here now due to good efforts of the Department of Public Works, make sure that that doesn't happen. In other words, have random patrols down here where police officers will walk around the area and make sure nobody's conducting themselves in an inappropriate manner. Secondly, I think we need to commit ourselves to the future and in the present to maintaining and refurbishing the cannons, for instance, that have been refurbished before, but they're obviously going to be needing refurbishing again in the future. And it's day-to-day maintenance that's necessary, and I'd like to make a commitment upon our board to be open to suggestions to people to do things such as those. But all in all, I think we need to remember Don Bernard for the part he's played in the history of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It would have been impossible to invite all of the friends of Donald Bernard to say a few words because the line would probably be up to the Acushnet line. So on behalf of the many, many friends that Donald Bernard had, one of his good friends, Skip Becotte.
Thank you, John. First of all, I'd like to thank MLBaron for making this day possible, and I think he deserves a lot of recognition. Thank you, ML. I became tied with Donald in 1959. I babysat for all his daughters, and boy, they were pests. And Donald always used to tell me every so often he'd wondered what it'd be like to have a son, and he'd think of me, and he said he was glad he had all girls. That's the truth. He would say that all the time. On September 1st, I lost my best friend, and I still feel like I just lost him. I was asked to speak today. I represent no organization, but a bunch of guys that used to hang around with Bernie. We used to be called a breakfast club. We'd meet at different places, and we'd have breakfast, coffee, talk about old times. But I learned a lot of things about Donald over the years. He taught me how to disagree with people and do it in a gentlemanly-like way, remain friends. The people that criticize Donald have never met Donald. I'm here today to tell you that Donald was probably responsible for more good in this town and more things having been accomplished in this town than any man has ever done. Don Bernard was a yardstick that you measured people by. And I hope when you walk on the fort in the summertime or when the weather's nice, that you remember Don Bernard and all the work he did, not only here, but in Fairhaven. If Bernie was a friend of yours, you know the real Don Bernard. He was an incredible person. Those who knew him were enriched by the experience, and those who loved him will miss him forever. The thing that bothered me is I never got a chance to say goodbye. We never really, Ken Wood and I say this all the time, we never really had the chance to say goodbye and thank you. So Bernie, one last time, I love you, I miss you, and I thank you.
On behalf of all the speakers, thank you for the very nice words, and I think now we can proceed with the dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, this flag flew over the Capitol, courtesy of Mr. Joseph Theodore and Representative in Congress Bonnie Frank. At dusk this evening, it will be lowered and presented to the family. I would also comment that this is the last time that the regiment that Donald Bernard founded will ever march. The music, of course, was the music from Glory, if you saw the Civil War movie. Company B, 3rd Regiment, Massachusetts Volunteers, thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if the family would now step forward, we will unveil a plaque. And if you want to gather down here a little bit, the flag is facing east. Skip Becotte will assist members of the family in pulling the cord. And Skip, when you're ready. For those of you who aren't close enough to read or do not have a program, in memory of historian, author, and fire chief Donald R. Bernard, 1932 to 1993, who led revolutionary and Civil War reenactments on the site. His efforts brought awareness of the significant role the area has played since the birth of our nation. Dedicated on December 11, 1993, by a grateful people of the community. And that concludes our ceremonies. This program can be seen tonight and all week at 8 o'clock on local television. I'm sure Donald is up there probably saying, you needn't do this for me, but I'm sure he is greatly appreciative of all of those who came and participated today. Thank you. Yes, we do have one member of the family that would like to say something. Just hold on.
On behalf of the Bernard family, we'd like to thank all of you for coming here today and sharing with our family this very special occasion. Special thanks to MLBaron of Fairhaven Cablevision for coordinating the program, Selectman John Haaland, Selectman John Rodericks, Selectman Pat Mullen, Senator Mark Montigny, Representative William Strauss, Mr. John Moore, Mr. Joseph Theodore, and to all the donators and participants who made this day possible. I know if our father were here today, he would be very proud and honored to receive this dedication. Thank you all for coming.